She left him absolutely nothing, $0, on Christmas Eve. For a struggling single father working a double shift, that empty tray felt like a slap in the face. But just as he was about to walk away in despair, he saw something hidden underneath the plate, something that would change his life forever. Don't forget to comment down below which country you are watching this video from. It was a freezing night in mid-December. The city was buried under a blanket of white snow, and the Christmas lights blinked rhythmically in the windows, mocking anyone who couldn't afford to celebrate. Marcos arrived at the diner soaked to the bone, his broken umbrella having lost its battle against the winter storm. He had taken the longest shift, the graveyard shift that nobody wanted, because it was the only way he could pay for his daughter's asthma medication and maybe, just maybe, buy her the doll she had asked Santa for. Marcos was used to swallowing his exhaustion. He was used to the ache in his feet and the worry in his chest. As he poured coffee for truck drivers and wiped down empty tables, his mind was miles away. He thought of his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, sleeping at her grandmother's house. He thought about the homework he promised to check. He thought about the dream he once had of opening his own bakery, a dream he had locked away in a mental coffin years ago. Survival. That was his only goal now. Just survive one more day. That night, however, the rhythm of the diner changed. The bell above the door jingled and a woman walked in. She didn't look like the usual customers. She wore a tailored beige coat, elegant leather gloves, and walked with a confidence that cut through the noise of the clattering dishes. Marcos approached her with his usual polite smile, unaware that this woman, Clara, was one of the most powerful real estate tycoons in the city. She didn't look at him with arrogance. Instead, she looked at him with a cold, analytical distance, like a scientist observing a specimen. "Good evening. Welcome to Joe's Diner," Marcos said, placing the menu down. She just nodded. Hot tea? Nothing else. A strange choice for someone so refined in a greasy spoon diner, Marcos thought, but it wasn't his business. However, he noticed two things. First, her hands were trembling slightly. Second, she kept checking her phone, staring at the screen as if waiting for a disaster to strike. When he returned with the tea, he heard a heavy sigh escape her lips. It was a sound of deep, buried frustration. "Is everything all right, ma'am?" Marcos asked gently, with the caution of someone who knows pain when he sees it. She looked up, surprised by his genuine tone. "Nobody worries about people who have nothing to lose," she replied cryptically. It was a strange comment. But Marcos didn't press. He just nodded and said, "Sometimes, having nothing to lose is the only way to find what matters." He walked away, but the interaction lingered in his mind. He continued working, but his eyes kept drifting back to table 6. When she finished her tea, she signaled for the check. Marcos brought it quickly, silently praying for a decent tip. Even $5 would help cover his bus fare home so he wouldn't have to walk in the snow. She paid the bill with exact change. She stood up, adjusted her coat with an elegant gesture, and walked toward the door without looking back. "Thank you for your service," she said. Her voice sounded sincere, but when Marcos looked at the tray, his heart sank. 0. Not a single penny. He felt a lump in his throat. It wasn't just about the money, it was the feeling of invisibility. On Christmas week, people were usually more generous, but this woman, who clearly had millions, couldn't spare a dime. He sighed, frustrated, grabbing the empty cup. But as he lifted the saucer, he froze. There was something there. A small note, folded with precision, hidden directly underneath the plate. At first he thought it was trash, a receipt she left behind. But when he touched the paper, he realized the texture was thick, expensive. It was intentional. His heart began to beat a different rhythm. Why would a rich woman hide a note instead of leaving cash? He looked at the door, but she had already vanished into the snowy night. The silence of the diner seemed to get heavier. Marcos swallowed hard. He knew instinctively that whatever was written on this paper wasn't trivial. With trembling hands, he pulled the note out. He unfolded it just an inch. He saw the first few words, and his breath hitched. "I know who you are, and I know what you sacrificed." He panicked. A customer at the back yelled for a refill, breaking the spell. Marco shoved the note into his pocket, his mind racing. Who was she? How did she know him? Was he in trouble? He spent the next 20 minutes working on autopilot, feeling the paper burning a hole in his pocket. Finally, he hid behind the counter and opened it fully. "I know who you are. I know you are a single father. I saw you help the elderly man at the entrance when nobody else looked. I need to speak with you tonight. This is not a favor. It is an opportunity. Meet me outside at 3 a.m. Marcos felt a punch to his gut. An opportunity? At 3 a.m.? It sounded insane. It sounded dangerous. But looking around the diner, at the bleak future waiting for him, he realized he had to go. When his shift ended, Marcos walked out into the biting cold. The snow was falling harder now. Parked across the street, engine running, was a white luxury sedan. The back window rolled down just a few inches. "Marcos!" a female voice called out. He froze. He walked over slowly. Clara was sitting there looking tired, almost vulnerable without the diner lights. "Forgive the dramatic approach," she said directly. "I didn't want to cause a scene inside." Marcos took a deep breath. "Why did you leave me that note? What do you want from me?" Clara looked out at the snow-covered street before answering. "Tonight, I saw something rare. I saw a man who treats people with dignity even when he thinks he's getting nothing in return. That is, uncommon." Marcos stayed silent, confused. "I have spent months looking for someone with character," she continued. "My company is launching a foundation to support single-parent families this Christmas. I need a program director who understands what it means to struggle. I don't want a college degree. I don't want a polished resume. I want integrity." Marcos felt the world stop spinning. The snow seemed to hang in the air. "But I'm just a waiter," he whispered, the raw honesty hurting his throat. "I'm just a dad trying to make rent." Clara smiled for the first time, a genuine, warm smile. "That is exactly why I chose you." Marcos felt tears pricking his eyes. He couldn't remember the last time someone saw value in him. "I'm not handing you charity," Clara added sharply. "Come to my office tomorrow at 9 a.m. I will interview you properly. If you pass, the job is yours. Starting salary is $80,000 a year. If not, well, at least you took a shot." He looked at his hands, red, chapped from washing dishes, scarred from hard work. For the first time, he didn't see them as a curse. He saw them as proof of his strength. "Why me?" he insisted. "Really?" "Because you didn't judge me when I left no tip," she said softly. "You kept your head up. Your eyes didn't show defeat, Marcos. They showed a fight." Marcos thought of Lily. He thought of the Christmas tree that had no presents under it. He thought of the life he wanted to give her. "Okay," he said, his voice trembling. "I'll be there." "Don't screw it up," she said, the window rolling up. Sometimes life only knocks on the door once. As the car drove away, leaving tracks in the fresh snow, Marcos stood there. He wasn't cold anymore. He felt a fire inside him that he thought had died years ago. He walked home, the snow crunching under his boots, sounding like a victory march. When he entered his tiny, drafty apartment, he found Lily asleep on the couch, clutching a drawing of the two of them holding hands under a giant Christmas tree. Marcos knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. He kissed her forehead, tears finally spilling over. That night, for the first time in forever, he didn't pray for help. He whispered, "Thank you." He realized the greatest truth of all. When someone truly sees you, when they look past the uniform and the struggle and see the human soul beneath, it changes everything. Marcos didn't just get a job offer that night. He got his dignity back. And as he looked at the twinkling Christmas lights outside his window, he knew that this year, The greatest gift wasn't going to be under the tree. It was going to be the future he was finally going to build. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs hope this Christmas.